Mind, here we go. Go live.
There you go.
Going live. Damn, you gotta love this YouTube shit. We gotta get used to this because we're gonna need it in Boston, baby.
Yeah, we are.
Okay,
Yeah, we
I
are.
think we might be here, baby. Live, testing. I think we should be good. Let us know in the chat if you can see us, hear us, all this good stuff. There we go. There we go. Okay, I don't know why the sunglasses are on, by the way. Last minute decision. They happen to be sitting on the desk next to me.
And we're like, what the fuck? What's going on, man? Dude.
So we had to do it real quick.
Oh, I'm getting roasted because we're late by like 2 minutes?
Yeah, come on. People don't have time to waste here, understand? You got to be on the dot. I'd be 5 minutes late with a Valorant upload and I get people DMing me like, where's the video?
There's no way they're on your head, bro, like that.
These are coming off now. They're going to be in for a rude awakening when I'm in, because when we are in Boston and stuff, I can't upload a Valorant video at 7 a.m. Eastern because, you know, I can't get up at 5.
Because tactical rap is not committed. Dun dun dun.
Nah, bro, time zones are important, man. This is why I could not live like West Coast time. It wouldn't work. I wouldn't be able to do a video in time. I have to get up at 4. You know what I mean?
West Coast time is actually, I'm not gonna lie, I would upload stock videos on West Coast time, and my God, it was tough, bro.
Yeah, you have to be up at up late. You just
up late to make them, but then have to be up by 6:30 to get them out.
Yeah, that's tough. That is tough. I used to remember the days I was in uni. I would stay up to like 4 in the morning, record, and I would download the VOD of the CDL matches from Black Ops 4.
Right.
And then like I would get up a few hours later and then I'd make a recap video about it, even though I wouldn't do it at the time. And then I'd get no sleep and I'd turn up to the lecture. I'd be absolutely dead. But it's just good times, you know.
But look at you now. Look at you now. The commitment turned out good for you. End of the story, you know?
Did I bring my 100K back to a hotel? That is comedy. No, this is my office, bro. This is the apartment room. It's in that hotel. It's nice here, though.
Your office is a legitimate side bedroom. It is very tough. I actually am very jealous of the fact that it's just a side bedroom. I want to have a side bedroom where I can do this in. It would be so much sicker versus the living room setup that we got. Oh, I should open the blinds. Should we see the city?
You could open the blinds. You could do it. I need to get this tweet out because my thing messed up. So we got a couple of minutes here.
Okay, I was about to
welcome everyone to the chat.
Yeah,
I know. I do actually have some art, Tropical, but it's on. Well, it's not art, but it's on the wall over there. You can kind of see actually. Can you see? Well, you can't really. Okay, you can see the light. This is what you're getting from this angle.
Is that Gordon Ramsay on your wall? Who's that?
No, so that's I have a couple of signed prints of F1 drivers. What's good, Christina?
Every British person must have the Queen and Gordon Ramsay on their walls. Is that what it is?
Yeah, I have. It's Jackie Stewart. It's Jackie Stewart. So for people that know who Jackie Stewart is, he has a really cool signature. But I have a couple of like signed F1 driver prints on the wall. But I appreciate that I probably do need to. Actually, I just come back from my parents' place, and God, I can't speak and type at the same time. And I was meant to bring back a couple of things to put on the wall, but we forgot. So brilliant.
Hey, yeah, Peanut roast his ass. Tiny ass frame, head ass, big ass face, tiny ass frame.
Nah, it looks tiny because of the camera angle, but that's actually cap dog.
No, come on.
It's actually good size.
Is it actually a bigger piece?
No, it's not. It's not big, but like.
Oh, now he's scratching his head. You see him? He's like, it's gotta be.
No, it's an itch, bro. Damn, this guy.
Big L mixed. That's true. He said frame isn't small, guys. Rab's house is just enormous. That's a good point.
See, there you go. There you go. I got defenders.
Stop writing, but that's a good point. That's a good point.
Yeah. I like that.
I like that.
Okay. Let me get this. Let me get this in here. Let me do the tweet. I
can't believe we have to wait till March for F1 to come back. That's true.
The joke, mate. Is it March the 2nd, the first race? Something like that?
White night, man.
Absolute embarrassment. Yeah, TweetDeck is
tripping
cheeks now, honestly. No, it works, but it's like if I can't be on both accounts at the same time.
Oh.
When TweetDeck used to be a thing, I could be on my main account and also
to switch over basically, right?
Switch over, yeah, but that's not a thing anymore. So, I fucked the tweet. See, this is what you guys get for talking to me.
Bro.
It's okay.
Rab, first you show us that Gordon Ramsay small frame on your wall. Now you're fucking up the tweet. What's going on here, man?
The edit on this. Well, it's
8 a.m. for me. It's 2 for you. I'm the one that should be fucking up the tweets right now. Okay.
Yeah. Well, my boy Pal's in bed asleep, so I can't. I have to do the job,
Yeah,
we have to do it all out here.
Yeah.
But anyway, good morning, everyone.
Working. Is Scump challenging Scrap for longest neck in the CDL? Dude, the meta might be long neck though. You get what I'm saying?
My neck is low-key long as well.
No bullshit. I'm wearing look. This is covering, but like my shit, I got an ostrich neck. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, facts.
It might be.
This is the thing. If what's crazy is if you look at the F1 drivers, their necks are all like this big. So they might have long necks, but they don't look it because their neck starts like here because they have to. The G-forces.
That's what I said. They've literally their necks have trained G-force training.
Yeah, exactly. Does Formal get a steak dinner? You might be right, actually. I have a few steak dinners I gotta give out. Dasher gets one. Octane gets one. Maybe Formal. This is how it goes with COD news, though, is that you get cycles, and for a few days in a row, Doug will be popping off, and then at the moment it's Formal. He's all over the place at the moment.
Bro, just do an all-in-one encompassing dinner. Have them all sitting at the table.
I think I need to, yeah.
And then what you should do is record that table, because it would be the best content of your life with all them at the table.
Oh, 100%. 100%. It's like, I don't know if you guys remember Dinner with Champs back in, I used to do it in the CWL days. They'd have Mr. X, and they'd get like Pats and Karma and JCap and stuff like this. And they would just have a meal, but they'd all set it out, and there'd be cameras up there and everything. They're lighting. It'd be a good setup. I don't know if I want to do that again. I really want to do that again.
It'd be a good segment, to be honest.
No, it would be a good segment, but I'm going to be walking into the steakhouse with the tripod like that geezer who's going viral on Twitter at the moment.
Dude. No, you're talking about the Target guy, the Target run?
The Target, yeah.
Dude.
Drew, what? He's got a name or something. I don't know what his name is.
I haven't looked at his name, but bro, did you see that thing Zinni posted in the refrigerator?
Yeah. I played today's video. It was so funny. That was so good.
I was crying when I saw that, brother. I was crying when I saw that.
No, that was brilliant.
Australia in the house, Peanut. Shout out to Australia. Shout out the Aussies. Oi. What else? Ghosty and Scrap Peanut. Top 2. Ghosty's another one with the long ass neck.
Ghosty, yeah. Scrappy said that he reckons Ghosty's got a couple inches on him.
A couple inches where?
Nah, no comment. No comment. I was gonna do a Twitter post about that, but I thought it was a bit too out of pocket, so I left it.
It show's on live. It's all good.
Did OpTic? Oh, here we go. He's getting cooked already. The show hasn't even started yet.
Wait, what do you say, bro? I can't read it. What do you say? Did problem show? Because I remember you kept saying that in your interviews. What problem are you referring to specifically? Okay, don't be. If we're gonna roast here, be specific. Okay, don't just be the OpTic problem. What is the specific thing you're referring to? Them Target ones are insane, bro. The one about wait, can we go back to the Target thing? Because I didn't finish talking about this, bro. When dude, to put your listen, to take your tripod and put it outside of your car and then reverse your car into the spot, I lost it then, brother. I'm good with the putting on the cologne. The other one, waking up out of bed. You got out of bed, put your tripod down, got back in bed, turned to the side, got real comfortable, and then got out. Dude,
You've been doing this since the early days, bro. I just find it funny the amount of camera angles he does. Like, he'll be checking out the items, and he'll get one camera angle, and then he'll say, all right, hang on a second. Let me bring this camera to the other side to get another camera angle. Oh my God, bro. It's incredible scenes. He's parking the car, and then he gets the rear view as well.
Yeah, he gets the dude. I can't imagine living life like that. Hey, Chad, just to make sure, do y'all know what we're talking about? Because if you don't,
you must have seen this guy, right?
We might add this as like a spice at the end of the show, some extra credit, just to showcase, because it is so funny. It is so funny.
There's a few of them now as well. I saw some guy today. He set it up like he was getting all dressed in that, and he went to McDonald's and he just sat down and had a Big Mac or something.
That was it.
And yeah, that was it. Yeah, but he like he did everything. Like when he ordered it, he got the he had 2 or 3 different camera angles when he was eating it. So he was just having a bite and then getting up, moving the tripod.
My friend actually has made a like he does IG. He has like 100,000 followers from doing that, literally around his house. It's just like cleaning up around the house like that. Exactly those camera angles you see. Not as extreme as like going to Target, but he buys flowers, he cooks, he cleans his house, and he does fits. And he has 100,000 followers just from that.
Yeah, that's the one, Dylan. That's the guy. That's the guy I'm talking about. Wait, the camera zoomed into his face at the drive-thru. Yeah, I saw that as well. That was actually, I think that's my favorite one. When he set the camera up on the drive-thru as he was driving in. So like he parks the car, he sets the tripod up, he gets back in the car, then drives through the drive-thru. Oh, sensational.
There's no way, bro. There's no way.
All good, Ryan. That's why I had to do the video an hour early today, you know? So we got this.
Wait, what is he referring to? What is this guy Ryan referring to? That it's accuracy. We're gonna go into.
We can talk about that. We can talk about that.
We're gonna get into it.
Just quickly for AWZ, the guy's name is Drew. Is it Drew Walls? Is that what they call him?
I'm gonna check. It's on Zinni's page. I'm gonna check Zinni's page.
I think they call him something like that. I don't know his name. But he's like the TikTok guy.
I'll find it for us right now. Don't worry.
Anyway, we'll get the show started in a second, but this has been too much fun to.
Yeah, I know. This is just chatting shit right now. Let's see. Where is this guy's page?
But yeah, I think you're right, Ryan. I mean, I can't see who else he was talking about. But yeah.
Tripods.
Yeah, it's tripod guy. I mean, if you just search on Twitter, tripod guy.
Oh, I found the McDonald's guy. There he is.
The new McDonald's guy. Yeah.
I just found him right here.
It's funny because when they started doing that TikTok NPC trend or whatever, that girl was doing it. The ice cream. Or whatever it was. Ice cream girl.
I'm going to quickly switch over to the main screen so people can understand what we're talking about, just in case, because AWZ said he doesn't know what we're talking about. So everyone, in case you don't know what we're talking about, this is the video, just so everyone can really can feel what we're saying here.
I could have treated you better. That's crazy. No. Leaning, soda, fantasizing, that's not love. You're in this more like compromising. I move mountains for you for that social climbing.
He recorded himself walking away from the checkout. He recorded himself walking away.
Yeah, that's the original one. That's the original one.
Look, a separate angle of him walking away. And then he had to turn around like a fucking weirdo and grab this thing and leave.
Oh, I love that one. It's so good.
It's insane, guys. It's insane. It's insane. Let's go back.
This guy took 2 hours. Okay. Anyway, thanks everyone for tuning in to the show. No, to the pre-show. Now we're going to get the real show underway. You reckon intro work?
Yeah, it's about time, right?
Mr. Producer?
Mr. Producer. Wow. I love the sound of that. I'm not going to lie to you. All right, guys. Welcome to Dope Check. Let's go. Yee! Mr. Tactical Rab Ace here for Dope Check Episode 3, a special holiday edition at our earlier time slot where we hope to be for most of this season. Mr. Tactical Rab, how are you doing?
Let's go, baby. Hope everyone had a good Christmas period. It's getting into the new year. It's been 2 weeks, no COD. And there's another 2 weeks, still no COD. So, we've got to do our best out here to keep everything entertaining. We're going to do our best because it's been popping off lately. There's lots of things to talk about. And I'm not going to lie, this time last year, let's not forget, Ace, it was roster drama all over the timeline. OpTic were making changes. Dashi was beefing Rambo. Scump was retiring. This year, what are these teams doing? Well, I think they should maybe make some moves. So we're going to talk about it today. Which teams need to blow it up, press the big red button, and straight detonate? And I wonder who that could possibly be.
I'm not excited for today's show for non-biased reasons, but we will get into all the nitty-gritty. It's been an exciting off period. I think definitely has been. It hasn't. We can't say it's exciting as last year. Again, with Scump's retirement and such epic events kind of happening, but we can say there's quite a few things to talk about, and we should dive into them. Starting off, should we talk about the news of next year? Should we start there with the games?
Let's do that. Let's
start
because
right there.
This is a juicy one. I mean, I know a lot of people have been reacting to this over the last couple of days. The news that we knew that this upcoming game is going to be a Treyarch game. It's going to probably be Black Ops Gulf War, something like that. So it's been a long time, It feels kind of wild that we used to have a Treyarch game every 2 years. We went Black Ops 1, MW3, Black Ops 2, Ghosts, Black Ops 3. Like, that's how it used to be. And it's been, 3 years since we've had a Treyarch game now? I mean, Black Ops Cold War, it was a decent Treyarch game, but it was one that was heavily rushed, we believe, because Sledgehammer's game was crap, so they had to delay it, all this stuff. But now Treyarch have had 3 years to work on this game. Apparently, it's looking really good. We know what Treyarch tend to deliver, but the exciting thing is that the year after is supposedly meant to be another Treyarch game, or at least it might not be fully made by Treyarch, but it's a game based on Black Ops 2. It's meant to be like a Black Ops 2 sequel based around 2030 or so. So this is really interesting from a competitive perspective. I think it's obviously very exciting. We don't even know what the CDL looks like in those couple of years, obviously, because it's possible it might die and we might go back to CWL, or it might just not even happen. We simply don't know right now. Obviously, you guys know my thoughts on Treyarch. I get my weekly Black Ops 3 glaze. I'm not sure if I've used that up yet, so maybe I'll save it for a couple of minutes' time. But of course, it also raises questions on what players think, because if you're thinking about retiring, and all of a sudden you've got back-to-back Treyarch games, including basically Black Ops 2 Remastered on the horizon, you might think twice about that.
We have actually Clay doing a retweet, quote tweet of the Call of Duty 2025 Black Ops 2 sequel, saying, well, shit, looks like you guys get another year out of me. Maybe 2 now, because it's 2024 and 2025. Speaking of the Treyarch games themselves, too, again, I've heard as well that the game does look good. I have people saying that this game looks better and feels better than the current Modern Warfare we have right now. And they're excited about what's coming ahead. So, as the Call of Duty insider, there's some inside stuff I got to know. And one of them is that the next Call of Duty is going to be probably one of the best ones we've had in several years. So something to look forward to for every COD fan, for any competitive fan. And imagine, I think everyone loved the Blackout scene as well. Let's talk about that as well. I mean, a slight touch on that. Warzone's been great, but Blackout had a different kind of feel and look to it that made it really just like, even Formal, if we talk about, one of the best players of all time, Formal, there's a reason why he enjoyed Blackout more than Warzone, and he says it himself. I loved Blackout more, so it's really exciting to have a Treyarch-based Battle Royale. I think it's going to be one of the best ones yet, so really excited.
You think they're running that back? They're bringing Blackout back? They're not just doing Warzone again?
I mean, whether it's Blackout or whether it's called Blackout 2 or it's Warzone Part 3, I guess, having Treyarch be the developers behind it is going to look special. I think it's something that's going to change up the feel of the game, and it's what Warzone needs, because as of right now, I play the new Warzone. I don't know if you have. It's fun. It's definitely more fun than the last one we had. But to me, still, I don't know. It just doesn't feel like what Blackout felt. The game just felt so clean, so smooth, and not clunky like Modern Warfare and Warzone feel like to me. So really excited to see what 2024 and 2025 look like for Call of Duty. With Microsoft coming in too, what's that next era going to look like, whether it is CWL or CDL? But, you have a good game. Anything is possible. A good game created the Call of Duty scene and made it what it is today with Black Ops 1, Black Ops 2. So really excited to see what the possibilities are coming ahead. Maybe we see Scum come out of retirement. Who knows? I'm calling them for the big shots.
God, my bank account will be looking nice if Scum comes out of retirement. No doubt about that. But yeah, my concern about this is, sure, Activision, Microsoft is a new deal now. There's going to be less degree of creative control that Activision have over what the devs do. What I'm really hoping is what that might mean in the short to medium term is that Treyarch have a little bit more freedom on what they actually do with the game. Whether they can get rid of bloody tactical sprint, I'd love to see that be the case. I'm not sure they will, but it wasn't the case in Cold War, was it? It was just sprint, and I'm pretty sure it was just sprint and run. So, good times. Obviously, at the time, still Warzone was different. So I don't know what the plan is going to be there. I know there's been some concern that, well, Von der Haar's retired now. He's moved away from Treyarch. Treyarch are washed. They're not going to be able to produce the right games anymore. I don't agree with that take. I still think that the environment at Treyarch and the devs that are left at Treyarch, there are a few, Tony Flame and, guys like this that have stepped away over the last couple of years, like devs that were really into the competitive scene. That's somewhat concerning, but I still think the culture there at Treyarch is going to be for the best. I just feel like, SBMM, I don't know if it's ever going away. And the sad thing to me is that it doesn't really matter how good the game is that they make. I don't think it would never be the same as it was back in like Black Ops 3. Okay, yeah. I'll drop it in now. Because, back then, game battles, pubs, okay, Arena was kind of bad on that because it took so long, banner protection, all this stuff. But, that was such a golden era where you could actually play pubs, grind it out. And it's not really like that anymore. And also, I just think that generally as you get... It's like, is Warzone now not as fun as it was a couple of years ago? Or is it just that you've kind of outgrown Warzone? Not like outgrown it, but, you played it enough. And now the time has come that you don't get excited about it in the same way as you did before. So just because they remaster in Black Ops 2 or whatever, 2.5, it doesn't mean I'm going to have the same amount of fun on it as I did when I was, like 12, when I had it for the first time. But maybe that's fine, If it's good for competitive, it's all I care about, I guess, at this point.
Yeah, and then we also have not only Clayster talking about, teasing, he's staying extra. We have Formal talking. He might come back to COD. Formal's a notorious troll, so I would take it with, a grain of salt. But let's see what he had to say.
I guess you could never really say never. It would have to take a lot for me personally to, unretire to go back to COD. It'd have to be, a really good COD. It'd have to be a good team. It'd have to be in the right headspace. It'd have to be a lot of shit. The COD grind is a lot different than the Halo grind. The COD grind's a lot more serious. The Halo grind's whatever, dude. Games aren't that fucking serious. They're serious, but you know what I mean. COD's they're 11 a.m. to fucking 4 p.m. type shit. It's so much different. You have to be a really good COD. You have to really, really like it type shit.
Right there. I mean, has to be a really good COD. I'm hearing good things about it. You heard good things about it. If Formal was going to come back for any type of game, I would say that a Treyarch game is going to be the one that does it. I will say, I don't think it's going to be a Modern Warfare title that gets him to come back. And again, I know I've heard some other things about Halo getting, viewership kind of coming down. So who knows? Possibility of Halo kind of tuning itself down, COD kind of prepping itself back up. So if we see a Formal return, I'm saying T2P is right back in the place, baby. I'm calling for the return of both of them at that point, man. Really.
That'd be so wild what OpTic would do in that scenario, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Especially if their team's doing well, but Scump and Formal really want to come back. It's like, what do? And if you're Scump, do you think, well, do I really want to come back and drop Kenny or something? Maybe not, but yeah, it's going to be exciting. I don't think it's probably going to happen. But speaking of OpTic, let's talk about the CDL schedule, because it's very interesting how the same situations happen every single year. And we heard from Pred the other day that he was mind blown that they actually played a game on the most recent Sunday, first game of the day. Can you believe it? OpTic were actually playing Ravens map 1. Usually, so far at least, they've been the final series. And if you look at the schedule, you'll certainly find evidence, while it could be totally random, that the maps are, the matches are determined in such a way to promote storylines and other things. And usually that tends to mean that OpTic end up last match, especially for their big matches. And Dashi doesn't prefer that. He prefers playing slightly earlier in the day. It's, if you're playing right at night, it's a bit difficult. Okay, when do you eat? Preparation, stuff like this. So this is, go ahead and if you want to share this clip or give your own comment.
Yeah, no, I'll drop the clip first, and then we'll talk about it a little bit from there. So we have the clip of AG Pred talking about the schedule.
Clay is he's got in the drafts. I already know.
Oh my God, we play first on Sunday.
We swear.
Dead ass.
Don't get used to it.
Oh my god.
Look at us right there.
My
Oh
God.
my god.
Ken is literally the happiest man in the
Oh,
world.
Wait. Let me see what Friday. Let me see Friday.
We're playing at 10 p.m. on Friday. Yep.
Five?
At 10 p.m. We're playing at midnight.
Wait, is that the last
start
match
at
on Friday?
7 p.m. was criminal though. I ain't never played like.
You never played that long?
I mean, at a tournament, I'm turned regardless. Like walking around the venue, I'm super turned. I'm locked
Yeah,
regardless
you
of what's
hear
going on.
you
But
hear the
here,
bullets
I'm
from-
just like, I'm
It's
looking
dark
at the
outside.
screen. It's just getting dark. I'm just like, bro.
inside.
We're like, do we?
The funniest part about that clip for me, personally, is AG yawns at the end, and you could tell that he's not a morning guy instantly from this clip right there. You saw him just yawn instantly. So that was the best part about that clip. Overall, about the CDL schedule, do I think it's in the past years? Do I think there's some reasoning to put OpTic, manipulate kind of where they are in the scheduling? I'm gonna say yes, but I don't think I think this year it's just regular placement. They've been in the beginning, they've been in the end, they've been in the middle. I don't think it's any type of cheese really. But I will say there have been previous times where it just looks kind of sus, or even at past tournaments, even the CWL days where OpTic would play towards the end of the day, or have a more easy bracket just so like viewership doesn't die off completely by Friday or Saturday. At least it gets told later of Saturday. So trust me, I've been sus of this as well. I don't know if it's the same this year. I trust the CWL. I trust personally the CWL a little more than this year than I do in previous years. I trust them only in the sense of the integrity of scheduling and aspects of that. But I mean, who knows? Rab, you may know something I don't, and it does look a little bit sus that they do always kind of get the best matchups and best timing for them. But who knows? Though that's something I think
it's
we'll never
interesting.
know.
Like, I think it goes both ways because some teams would probably say, "Oh yeah, it's like they get beneficial timings," but they would not necessarily prefer that. Like, I think most teams kind of prefer on LAN. It's different, and I think on LAN it's actually probably more important because on LAN you've got 4 matches all in the same rounds, so they can kind of do what they want, who they put first, who they put last. And if OpTic go last or third match, which they quite often do, maybe OpTic aren't so happy about that. They want to play a little bit earlier in the day or whatever. At the end of the day, you're a competitor. You've got to adapt. Like, I don't really care for your, you're going to complain about this, like whatever. But I do think that for the online matches, there's a 0% chance that there isn't some rigging. Like, okay, maybe 0.1. Like, you can have a look at the schedule and just, it's kind of funny looking through the rest of the matches, especially maybe it's Miami, maybe it's the second major cycle that's worth having a look at. I also will say the CDL don't pretend that it's not rigged. Like, they don't say, "Oh no, it's random, guys." Like, they just say, "Oh, here are the batches." And it's a talking point in other sports as well about the way things are decided. But it might be the second major cycle ones that's worth looking at here.
The second major, the Miami major cycle.
Yeah, the Miami major cycle is worth looking at because if you look at OpTic's games, whenever they play a team that's not so good, they play like middle of the day. And then whenever they play a theoretically good match, it's like last game every single time. Like when they play Toronto, it's last game. When they play, I mean, let's not forget, the very final game of this split is against FaZe before they go into the major. The very final game of next split, I'm pretty sure, is OpTic versus Subliners.
Well, we do have some
like
cheese
that.
right here because Sunday, February 18th, this is on the Miami splits on after Major 1. We do have them Sunday, last match playing Thieves. We have them Friday, second match playing Rocker. So again, theoretically, not a great team. Saturday, middle of the day playing Gorillas. Theoretically, not a great team. Let's see. OpTic. Boston Breach Friday, first match. See? That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying that.
That's not always. They try and pretend this. They try and say like, "Oh look, guys, we're not rigging it." And then you look at the final couple of games.
Okay, but Sunday
and they
versus
hit you
Toronto
with the
Ultra.
back-to-back. And then the final game.
And then final game, Subliners, OpTic. But bro, you see what I'm saying? It's been all around. It's been middle. It's been beginning. It's been end. It's been end. It's been end. It's all random. It's all random. I don't know.
Okay. There's a 1% chance it's random, bro.
Yeah.
Like, when you look at these, you know what they're doing. I don't really have a problem with it. I just think that, back in Cold War, they used to let the teams got to pick, right, what groups they're in.
Right.
So they got to kind of choose. They didn't exactly get to choose their matchups and when they played, but they got to choose which teams they played against to some degree, right? The first seed would choose which team went into the other group. So, they could select which teams they wanted to play against, which teams they didn't want to play against. And nowadays, right, the season starts, and on day one, you've got OpTic versus New York, you've got, FaZe versus Boston, right? All of which have interesting storylines. Even as Ken says, first match of the year should be Champs Grand Final rematch. Like, that's a cool idea. And the CDL definitely decide the matches for storyline purposes. And then they try and hope that over the course of the season, the regular season matches will even out over the teams. And they try and make that happen. But I'm not really sure that's always the case. At the end of the day, just win 4 matches. You've got 7 matches online. If you win 4 of them, if you can't do that and you're crying about it, not like OpTic crying about it, but like if people want to cry about scheduling but you can't win 4 out of 7 matches, then that's on you.
I will say too, Rab, for you personally, I think it's great how they set up things up. If it is actually set up, this is to the benefit of creators, people like us who have, the flank, us, breakdown, all these kind of guys. It's to our benefit if they set up these storylines and narratives. It's actually kind of good for us. So I say, you know what, CDL, if you're rigging, keep rigging. Hey, CDL, you're rigging? Keep it going, baby. Keep it going.
I have one request I would like to make. On matches where there are 4 matches, make OpTic the 3rd game. Because otherwise I have to stay up to the final. Because you see, I can't make a recap video without talking about the OpTic series. Because that's obviously going to be the biggest one.
True.
So if it's the final series, I have to stay up the extra series to cover it. Whereas if it's the 3rd series and there's like kind of a series people don't care about last, then I can make the video an hour and a half earlier and then I get an hour and a half extra sleep.
There we go. There we go. CDL, rig it
Rab
up.
World League, yeah.
W League, rig it up.
OpTic 3rd game. Let's get that cooking.
Beautiful. I want to jump into something for me that is very spicy, and I had some people jump into my DMs and had some positive reaction to it and some negative reaction to it. It's actually a clip of I believe it was from the Hitch podcast, I believe, right?
Around the Bar, it's called.
Around the Bar, my bad. Around the Bar. And we have Repulse. If people don't know who that is, he's one of the top Warzone players and creators that's out there. So he's on the pod with Hitch and speaks on Biffle, who's another, again, top Warzone player and creator. Had apparently been offered multiple spots on CDL teams, competitive spots, including a starting spot. So let's watch this clip. Again, I got into some controversy responding to the clip, and I would love to chat right after. Let's see.
If you're good at Call of Duty, you're good at Call of Duty, right? Now, we fast forward, and multiplayer, and not in a bad way, but isn't as popular anymore, right? Warzone has kind of taken that, like, everybody, Warzone is that next thing. So it's like, okay, the people that are goated, these insane superstars, where are they going to go? Where are you going to find them now? And a lot of these guys, the people that nobody knows about, are Warzone because they don't know any better. They're going to play Warzone. It's a free-to-play game. It's more accessible, and they're really good at the game. But now you teach them how to play other things, and they're going to fry. Big reason of why I think Diaz, he played S&D growing. He played a little bit of variant. Like, I genuinely believe you put that man in the CDL, and Crowder has said he can do it. Like, a lot of people, I mean, let's be honest. I'm not going to leak anything, but he got offered multiple spots in the CDL. Like, I believe he could be a top 5 player in the league.
Was he offered a starting spot? A starting spot,
brother. If I tell,
don't
just know, not this. Like, whenever I'm able to talk about it, you would be mind blown.
I'm sure I would.
You would be fucking like, what the fuck? Like, but
you can't talk about it. And he said no.
He said no. Again,
he would get fried.
Alrighty. Well, my response to that tweet was cap, was a bunch of hats, because to me, this is the biggest cap that's ever been said and blown up on a public forum, a public podcast, and again, did really well on Twitter. And it really just had me like, I don't know, tweaking a little bit. I do agree, right? I do agree with Repulse that a lot of superstar talent is probably not playing pubs like that anymore and are probably in the Warzone scene and just sprinkled amongst them. I agree with that sentiment, honestly. battle royales are just what is popular. So you got to accept that fact of things. Diaz is also a very good player. So I don't want anyone to believe that I don't like Diaz. I don't like Repulse. I like these guys. They're great players, entertaining. They have all my respect in that regard, for sure. Diaz has, even on Zuma's stream before, played pro players. I believe it was Zinni who he played. And I do not remember who won. Rab, if you chime in, if you remember who won. It was 20-19, though. And I think
he played a lot of them. He played Cell, he played Zinni, he played Shotzi. Like, they did a lot of 1v1s.
There we go. So I remember specifically the Zinni one because it was so funny and stuff, how it went down. It's really stuck in my memory. So, Diaz can compete with the best of the best in terms of gun skill, talent, playing 1v1s on shipment. Obviously different from competitive. And that's the particular point that I want to make clear. Competitive is not simply gun skill. There's a lot of players that you see who come and go in the CDL with amazing gun skill, unbelievable gun skill. It takes a different kind of thought process and knowledge how to play Warzone and how to play CDL. So Repulse to come out here and say publicly that Biffle was offered multiple spots on CDL teams and starting spots, I believe. And again, I'm deep diving into this. I don't want to leak anything myself, but I'm gonna be doing some deep diving and writing something on this specifically. But as far as I can tell, and as far as I know, Biffle was spoken to, so that part is true. He was spoken to. Was he offered a starting spot or offered legitimate roles in the CDL? Absolutely not. Cap 100%. And all due respect to Biffle, all due respect to Repulse, but that's crazy. And I think it's a little bit of a disrespect to challengers. There's so many guys fighting in the pits right now. To come and grab a great Warzone kid. When you have, more than hundreds of players and challengers that deserve a chance, a spot, even a sub spot, is some type of glimmer of hope in the CDL, I think is insane. So yeah, no, I'm calling cap all around.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Like, from Repulse's point of view, if you're gonna talk about, oh, he had these offers, you wouldn't believe the offers that he's getting. Some of stuff, it's like, all right, you got to give me something on that. You can't just say you wouldn't believe the offers without trying to, give some information who it might be, which teams, because otherwise people are going to call cap, and for good reason. And look, if what you say is true, and I'm inclined to believe that it is, that this is cap, then I think it's also a disservice to Biffle as a player, because Biffle gets tagged into all of these discussions. Oh, he's getting the CDL offers. Like, these teams are trying to get him in, this type of stuff. I don't think Biffle is really interested. Like, if he was getting a mega bag, sure. And obviously there's a debate there as to what Biffle would even think about it. But Biffle's a talented player. Could he make it on a CDL level? Formal says that he could. Others have said that, look, give him time, work with, he'd have to grind, right? He'd have to take it seriously, and he'd have to put his talent to good use. Could he be Repulse said he'd be a top 5 player in the league. I think that's a bit of a stretch. I mean, even being top 20 player in the league is an incredible accomplishment. Top 5 is pretty wild, to say straight up. And it also implies that Biffle wants a chance, but is turning it down for the money or something like that, right? Because if he's got a starting spot offer and he's turned it down, that kind of in some ways reflects badly on Biffle. If that's actually true, because people would say, oh, well, he gets the chance to come to the Pro League, which is, not many people get the chance, and he's going to say no. But I don't think that's actually the case. Like, I don't think Biffle wants to play Warzone. That's where he makes more money, and it makes sense to him to do so. I don't really think he has shown any willingness. It's not like he's tweeted out like, oh yeah, get me in the CDL if the bag is right. That's what Shifty did. That's why he got clowned on for that. So I just think all these talks about Biffle actually, I kind of feel bad for him in a way, because people constantly roast him and say, oh, he's not good enough, or he's cheating, and all this stuff, and oh, he wouldn't be good enough for the league, oh, he's turned down these offers, like, so disrespectful to other players, and all this type of stuff. I'm not actually sure that he wants all this attention around him with regard to that in the first place. Now, maybe that'll change over time. I mean, if Boston came through and, what did they apparently offer Envoy, like 300k, some crazy bag? Like, if they came through to Biffle and said, hey, you want to come in for big money, then sure, maybe he'll give it a go. But even then, like, he knows the amount of commitment required. And also, if he came in and got clowned on, let's not forget what happened to Mental, right? I mean, Mental, Gears of War legend, maybe the best ever, comes into LA Gorillas, and he was not the best player on their academy team. Nero was clearly the best, and Mental wasn't that good in challenges when he played. But they bring him in anyway because he's Mental. He's got to put him in the starting team, and he gets piss slammed on for a couple of months, and then they drop him again. And now he's having good success in Halo, which is good. But you don't want that to happen, right?
Yeah.
At the same time, there are players in the CDL that are very replaceable. So, we'll get into that in a second.
Yeah, I wanted to. You mentioned how the formal clip saying how he thinks Diaz and Aiden could play in the CDL. I think we should play that just so formal. We should always hear his take if he's given a hot take on something. It's great to hear him. So let's tune into that for a second.
I think Warzone Pros would not stand a chance, to be honest. It's a totally different game. I think Biffle could probably hang in the CDL, I'm not going to lie. But, I mean, he's like a outlier. He's an outlier, bro. Not a lot of them could actually do it. But Aiden, I actually think Aiden could too. Not going to lie. I'm not going to say they'd be running shit. But do I think they could be on, a pro team? Yeah, sure. There's a lot of replaceable players in CDL. So he's just crazy. I mean, bro, sometimes you just got to tip it.
There you go. I mean, again, word for word, again, the replaceable player standpoint is very true. And also, I want to touch on something else that the accusations of cheating against Biffle and Repulse and some of these guys. Just to be clear, again, do I think Biffle could? Two things I want to make clear, very clear. Do I think Biffle could hang in the CDL? 100%, skill-wise, talent-wise, 100%. Does he need to play some variant and play in maybe challengers for a little bit to get his feet wet? Of course. But do I think he can hang? Yes. 2, is Biffle cheating? Absolutely not. I've been to their compound, their house. I've seen their setups, right? I've been there. I've seen them streaming. There's no there's no Cronus. I saw it. I was there. Trust me, I was walking around like...
Nah, they just unplugged it for the day, bro. They're dodgy, 100%.
I was there really peeping, looking if I saw a single Cronus sitting around. And no, there was nothing there. So I just want to dispel those two things 100% clearly because I know it's a hot take I'm giving. And I just want to be clear that I'm defending Biffle. I'm defending these guys. I like them as players. I just think how it was expressed and how it was put forward, like you said, was a big disservice to Biffle. He doesn't really have interest in playing in COD, in CDL, so no reason to make this such a big story. Overall, replaceable players. I think it's time we start talking about what's coming next in the season. And
we'll get into that in a second. One final thing I wanted to mention on this topic is what do you think about the idea that teams have been talking to Biffle over challengers players? Because I agree with your take that if he wants to compete, he'd have to go to challengers and grind that out. And I know that there's challengers players that would disrespect him and say, they wouldn't want to play with him, and it would be difficult. Is there an issue with CDL teams coming into Biffle, and this is relevant to our discussion in a second of which team should blow it up, right, and saying to Biffle, hey, come and join us, play for us, over some of the challengers guys that have been playing for a long time? Because my perspective is, I don't think there's a problem with it necessarily. Sure, is it somewhat disrespectful to some of the challengers guys that have been grinding hard? Sure, but are they within their rights to do that? Absolutely. And would it actually add value to their organization? My perspective is often, I get frustrated with teams not taking winning seriously enough, but I appreciate that the way the CDL is currently structured, the 16 best teams the 16 best players in the world are arguably on the top 4 teams. So good luck winning an event. There probably will be one event this year that none of OpTic, FaZe, Toronto, New York end up winning. But I appreciate that if you're a top 12, top 8 level team, you're not really fighting for an event victory necessarily the way the CDL is currently structured. So in that circumstance, I think it can be very much beneficial for the organization to get a guy like Biffle in. It'd be a big talking point. It's the same story why, signing Doug, let's say Cold War, when people were talking about Surge getting Doug in, and they never wanted to do it, and I totally get why they never wanted to do it, but they were terrible anyway, at least online. If you bring in Doug, you're going to bring the storylines, you're going to get the sponsors in. So, I kind of get the angle. And sure, Biffle more talented on an individual level than Doug is, but, he's not exactly proven on the CDL level. But if I'm a business owner, I don't care about the noise. If I think Biffle's a good signing, I'm going to go for it, even though if I might be considered disrespectful, I don't know.
Again, I've played in challengers. I've coached. I've been around those guys. The kind of passion you see in those pits is next level. The amount of commitment, again, even with Formal, we saw the clip of Formal saying how the Halo grind is different from the COD grind. The challengers grind is different from the pro grind. It's more. It's harder. You're getting up earlier, watching VOD and staying on later, playing
working
and
a job
harder. Yeah, and you may be working a job. So in my opinion, it's fully disrespectful to reach out. Again, Biffle is a talent, and maybe to talk to him is not the disrespectful part, but I think these teams have seemingly reached out and gone over so many talented challengers players. And we've seen them make an impact once they get the opportunity, right? Some of these, there's a lot of kids in college COD right now that are good. There's players in the pits right now like Craze who are really good and just need their opportunity. I just think overall to not give these guys the opportunity, they've been grinding so hard, proving themselves year after year or qualifier or season after season. It's just unfair. I think it's distasteful overall. And then again, I don't think these teams, I don't think every organization has that much integrity. So I'm not going to give them, I'm not going to give them so much credit. But as an outside perspective, outside observer, and someone who's played, I think it hurts a little bit. It definitely hurts a little bit. It feels like a dagger when orgs aren't looking at people who are grinding in this exact game. Yeah, I think it's a little weird. I think we need to really rethink. I think organizations really need to rethink their priorities. Are they going for the flashy team? Are they going for the team that's going to give them views? Or are you going for the team that's going to let you break into the top 6, top 5? Are you going to see a champs? Are you going to see a champs weekend? What's your priority? That's for you to decide, not me.
Well, I think it's about time we talk about who needs to make changes for some of these respective players we've just mentioned, because there's certainly a few teams right now that I think fall into that category. Definitely. They have not looked good so far, some of these rosters. We'll talk through, really, we can talk as many rosters as you want, Ace. Like, we can start from the top, go through a couple of the teams that have been doing very well so far. I especially did want to touch on Toronto a little bit, just because they had a very strange conclusion to their first cycle, but they still find themselves in a more promising position than many teams that we'll get onto in a few minutes' time that may well need some serious changes.
Yeah, I think if we're going to break this down, let's start from the top. Let's give some praise first before we get into absolute choke slamming some people. So let's give some praise first, and then we'll go. Starting out, we have the Miami Heretics. Tactical Rabbi, which was hilarious from the chat. Thank you for bringing that up. Tactical Rabbi. Hey, did I not say this team was going to come out shooting? Did I not say that I think personally Lucky is going to be on the all-star team? I know Metals has a better KD for now, but this team moves differently. All around the map moving differently. I can't understand what they're saying in the comms. I don't Fuego. I guess some of it. I don't know most of it, but man, they look coordinated. They look like they just know what's going on in the map. I'm really happy for Vickle too. Vickle's now on a team where I know he feels comfortable. It really gives him a chance to shine. These guys, again, if I was back in I don't even know what game it was. I think it was World War II. I was the photographer for Team Heretics in Challengers. Surprise, surprise. So I've been seeing these guys. I've seen Journey, Lucky, and their coach. Methods is Sick. I've seen these guys play for almost 6 years now. They've been in the pits grinding. And this is another example, going back to my last point, of the Challengers players who are not looked at and disrespected when orgs look at other people. You have to look within yourself. Heretics is a perfect example of a team sticking together, putting it together year after year, and finally getting an opportunity and absolutely frying. I love to see it. Miami Heretics deserves the spot.
100%. I think it's so good to see. I remember there was a long time when European COD fans would watch some of the takes made by some of the OG NA players, and they would constantly cloud on European players and talent. And it's good to see that, if you look at the league right now, a lot of the top teams have European players somewhere or other. Now, sure, Thieves, maybe ain't looking so good at the moment, but, you look at some of the other teams. For example, Toronto, of course, has been a great example over the last couple of years. Shame there's no London. Shame, there's no Paris, but they never took it seriously anyway, so it is what it is. But yeah, great to see Heretics doing well. Of course, the concern that I have is how much they can keep this up, because back in Black Ops 4, it was a similar team, 5v5. They started out the year great. They qualified for the Pro League. They were good at the start, and then they kind of regressed into like a top 8 kind of range. And I hope that this team doesn't end up there. For now, they're number 1 seed. They're fine. And I'm looking at their numbers actually here on the screen. Like if you go to team stats, scroll down a bit, you'll actually see their map records. And the only map they've lost is Terminal Hardpoint. They've won literally every other map they've played. Anything high rise, anything invasion, anything skid row, anything sub base, they've won everything. They've only lost a couple of Terminal Hardpoints in there, which is like, I don't expect that to last forever, obviously. They will face more challenging teams shortly, and I think that's, you know, I have to reserve judgment somewhat of this Heretics team until we see them play a more competitive roster. I mean, if we look at the rosters they played so far, what I will say that's impressive about them is that they have beaten these teams comfortably, right? It wasn't close against Rocker or like Vegas. It was a bit more close, but you know, certainly Ravens, they handle business as a top team should handle business against these weaker rosters that we'll get into in a second. At the same time, when they play better rosters, I'm a little bit concerned. And also, I'm a little bit not annoyed, but I think that for these teams that have the teamwork, they have the chemistry, other teams will probably catch up a little bit eventually. But also, I think this team does have the talent. It's not like they don't have the talent either, which is what makes this team scary and a very like upset prospect roster. And they've got, you know, Eric Boom on the sub bench if it's required. But I think I'd love to see an event on the 15th of December like we had last year. The fact that the event is now end of January means that the kind of early game advantage that these teams with a good chemistry have, kind of like Vegas last year a little bit, but certainly like Team Caliber back in World War II, that is nullified somewhat given an extra month and a half of practice for the other teams. So, you know, because I think if there was an event in mid-December, like Heretics have a legit chance to, you know, make a finals or something. I'm not sure that's going to be the same story in a few weeks' time.
I agree with that. I think the one downside for them is that they play the game a lot differently. If you watch them, how they move around the map is very different than other teams. So, you know, that TK team is a great example. It's the first team who understood the meta of playing per map in this game, in this Call of Duty. I think Heretics have figured out how to play the majority of these maps, except for Terminal Hardpoint, clearly. So it's one of the, it is kind of interesting to see how it's going to lead up to the major. I'm sure a lot of teams are watching their VOD and understanding how they're playing the game. Can they keep it up? I think so personally. I think I think the biggest challenge they have is not keeping it up. It's how they compete on LAN. Because we saw, again, like you said, once they got to LAN, that's where it started to fall apart. And I'm sure after that, once you get kind of slammed on LAN, they probably got in their heads and really started, I don't know, losing momentum, losing full, probably had some beef internally at that point. When you do so bad, sometimes it could really mess up your mental. So it's really one of these teams where looks really good, everything looks great, I'm in support of them, but LAN is a different beast for a lot of people. Will the pressure come to them? Will the nerves get to them? We got to wait and see. Boston's going to be really exciting to see what happens with Miami Heretics. So I think we could push ahead, though, at this point, right? Let's get to the second team here. Second in the standings, we have, you know, a lot of people's favorites out here, the Atlanta FaZe. I think, go ahead, Rab, I'm going to let you start with this one because I think there's so much to say, but what hasn't been said about FaZe? So I'm going to let you take this one.
Yeah, I think the most interesting thing about this team right now, because they've basically done what we've expected, is exactly where Draza is sitting from an S&D perspective. Because I think we know this team is going to be good in all the modes. I mean, their stats in Respawn are pretty ridiculous. Simp is back in business. Like, Celium's had his maps here and there. Abizi's numbers, I mean, look, if Simp's frying Abizi, if Abizi can have a 1 flat, then he's doing his job fantastically well, really. But he hasn't been an absolute superstar. I think if you look at some of the S&D numbers here, that's what is interesting about this roster. The way that Draza's looking, because so far he's getting slammed in search, which is not what you'd typically expect. Draza was arguably the best search and destroy player in the game last year, briefly on Thieves. We know he's great at the mode. I don't know if there's like a tendency for when you play, and they've still won like most of their searches, right? Like, Simp's been great. You know, the first blood rates, of course, Abizi is doing what he does. Celium has 1 first blood and 0 first deaths, which is just comedy, honestly, the way that they structure their team. But Draza's kind of been getting slammed, and he's been playing a lot of S&D8 to try and figure this out. And he will. I mean, this is how it goes. But it's interesting with FaZe, right? You see guys like Arcity, guys like Slasher, like they play, especially the first half of the season with FaZe, and they kind of just get nerfed, you know. But I think it's kind of natural. Like when you're playing with Simpa, and Cell, you just seem to get nerfed from an individual level, and I think that's probably inevitable. But it's also one to look out for, right? Because Draza was top-rated player last year. This year he's been good in the respawns, but in Search and Destroy hasn't quite been there yet. So I think, you know, that's the thing to watch with FaZe. We'll say the teams that they've played have been, on paper, pretty impressive wins. I mean, they played Surge, Thieves, and Boston. Played Boston first, and then Thieves they 3-0'd, but it was quite close. And then Surge pretty good, and they beat them relatively comfortably, but did lose the Search and Destroy in that one, I'm pretty sure. So, you know, it's an okay set of victories, but now you look back on those teams, you know, you look back at Boston and Thieves especially, you think, well, is that really that impressive? So I still think FaZe have a bit more to prove, but their upcoming games are, like, they play Gorillas, Vegas, and Ravens. Like, that's 6-0 as far as I'm concerned. And then they play OpTic. So that's the first test, I think, really for the team.
You think the OpTic game is the real test?
I think so. I think so.
I have a pretty similar opinion. I think FaZe is a phenomenal team all around. I think Draw's S&D woes are just beginning of the game. And again, I'll be honest, I haven't sat there and really deep dive into the S&D, but a lot of times that main AR role, or even just an AR role in general, typically when you have subs that are a little bit aggressive, especially the Abizi type, sometimes you can be left in some precarious situations that leave you out, where you might just get gunned. You might just be in a bad situation because Abizi went and got pieced, or you're the last guy alive. So S&D stats to me personally aren't super important because, again, S&D is very situational. Every player in this league can gun. Every player in this league has a good mindset. So much talent in this league. So S&D is going to be figured out, I think, by Draza. And once it does, I mean, I was clicking through hardpoint, all positive, control. Abizi's at a 1.0, like you said. As long as it's at a 1, God bless, we're in a good place. So as soon as Draza, figures out, quote unquote, his S&D, this team's going to be unstoppable. Top 1, top 2. Is it going to be another year of FaZe doing that? I think so, 100%. Very similar scenes for FaZe. What hasn't been said about them? Nothing original is going to be said right here by me right now, because everything for the last several years of them being top 2, winning, being in the conversation continually. FaZe is a great team. Draws is a great pickup. This team is going to be phenomenal. I have nothing more to really say about FaZe overall.
Yeah, I respect it. I mean, I think there's a couple other teams we've got to talk about at the top. I mean, I want to touch on Toronto if you want to go to them.
I'll jump over
just because they had a very interesting conclusion. I know that people were mentioning it in the chat earlier when we were going to discuss this Ultra team, because they came out looking good. They beat Gorillas, a pretty impressive Gorillas team, quite comfortably, as it turned out, right at the start of the game. And then since then, it's been a bit of a different story. They still won most of their series, but the most recent 3-0 slammage, I mean, they slammed Ravens, but everyone would slam Ravens right now. And at least in the form that they played at the day. And then they got slammed by Boston, right? It's an interesting one in the sense that I don't know if Toronto got a little bit complacent or exactly what was going on, whether they thought they'd beat Boston. And, this was also a must-win series for Boston. They absolutely had to beat Toronto, starting 0-3. They needed the win 100% for their situation. But, an Envoy had an absolute stinker, which you're not expecting to happen very often. But I will say that is an interesting storyline, right? Because they dropped Hixie for Envoy. But last season, Ultra Team, they won an event and they made a finals. So, we've got questions on that one as well. Because Envoy does have the occasional shock in series. I mean, classically, the example was when OpTic Chicago played FaZe back in 2021, and they somehow got put on the Atlanta server because Envoy didn't reply to the email and all this stuff. And Envoy had a 0.44 and Formal had like a 0.46. Like, it was an absolute slammage. And sure, there were excuses, but there weren't many excuses for this one. Envoy just got cooked. Yeah. Like, his impact rating was in the mud. And if that doesn't happen, sure, the series is different. I kind of want to put it down to a bit of an off series for Toronto, more so than a trend. But I don't think Hixie ever had a 0.49, so like, I want to see Envoy's averages, because I think Envoy's currently averaging like a 0.88 KD, even including the series, which is far from the end of the world, given an absolute stinker. And the idea was that Envoy would drop a 1 compared to Hixie's 0.9, and that would make the team better. But I'm not sure that we've seen evidence that, that's going to happen yet.
Yeah, I mean, to say stinker, I think is is even giving him too much credit. That was one of the worst series I've ever seen in my life. I'm not gonna lie, man. Envoy, whatever was happening that day, I think I should reach out to him honestly and ask him what happened that day. Was it server issues? Was it something with Boston and Toronto connectivity? Was something going on there? It had to be. Was his controller broken? Stick drift? Give me something, man. Dylan,
Yeah,
please.
the gyro aimbot or something.
Yeah.
Just
what was going on that day for this series to happen the way it did? Is it an anomaly of a series? Yeah, we'll say it that. It's really early on, obviously. It's online COD, and notoriously online COD has its ups and downs. I'm not gonna take anything away from the team. The one thing I did notice that I will take away from them though was an S&D. If we're talking about Draws' S&D, Scrap has a 0.64, and Inside has a 0.83. So that's a little bit worrisome. But like I said, if I have to support my own basis, S&D is one of those things where it's very situational. Is it concerning that 2 players are in the red? A little bit, especially considering Toronto was so strong in S&D last year. So it kind of gives me a little bit of worry that in one of their better game modes, one of their reliable game modes, that they're looking a little bit worse. But overall, early in the season, I'm not going to look at it too crazy. I'm not going to get too in the depths like you're calling for them to be hung off the side of the trees and everything else. I think overall it's not a big deal. Envoy had a stinker of a series. If we come back, right? If we come back in January, Happy New Year, everyone. Just in case we don't get to see it, Happy New Year. I just forgot to say Happy New Year, everybody. But we come back in January and Envoy drops another series like this, even if it is online, then I think we start seeing some legitimate concern out of the community, out of us, out of everyone else. And on LAN, that's obviously the ultimate test. Major 1 is going to answer so many lingering questions that we have and prove or put down a lot of this hype for a lot of these players, whether superstars or up and comers, rookies. I'm so excited for Boston. It's unbelievable. So yeah, I think Envoy has to keep it trekking, not drop a 0.55, and get to Boston looking good, feeling good, and then we really see what this Toronto team is made about there.
Yeah, I think we've got to give some credit to Boston as well for, the victory. I think we've known that of all the teams in that kind of middle category, they're the team that has the most firepower, I would say, and has the best pieces to actually put together a run. So I think they just showed what they're capable of, and Toronto got caught flat-footed, I guess. Let's do OpTic as well. I mean, we gotta. It wouldn't be a podcast if we don't talk about OpTic Texas a little bit, especially because the guy was clowning you in the chat earlier for saying that they were going to be bad or something, and then they smoked everyone. So OpTic haters mudded again. Crazy, huh?
Okay, so you can start this one. I'm peeping the chat now what that guy said exactly. Cause I want to respond.
Yeah,
to
you have to scroll back a little bit, but he was cooking you. He even wrote out why he was cooking you in 2 parts.
Yeah, it got real serious. I saw that. I get to read it. Yeah. I'll peep.
Yeah, he wasn't messing around. But yeah, I mean, OpTic looked great this week. Kenny has been such a revelation for this team. I don't have to say it more than once. I think what I find most interesting though is just how much they have actually improved. It's the same question I have against Heretics somewhat, the teams they've actually taken down. Because if you look at their completed games, they beat Surge. The 3-1 victory against Surge was impressive, but then FaZe went on to do a very similar thing the next day. So, I think the teams were in a similar boat there, and then they completely giga slammed Ravens beyond belief. Like, I was talking about Heretics relatively comfortably beating teams they should beat, but OpTic took that to an entirely different level when they played Ravens. Like, it was actually a travesty. And even the victory against Surge, when they started on the bad side of Skid Row, they made the crazy comeback. That's not a map they would have won last year. Like, that's a map where Kenny making that icy play, reading it, going into the spawn, getting the kill, was just so well done. But the firepower they have is just ridiculous. Like, I remember when OpTic formed some people refer to as the dynasty, right? When they signed Octane and Crimsix and Methods, right? So it was Octane, Methods, Scump, like the top 24 dynasty. I'm just, you know what I mean? Some people call it the dynasty because they're taking the piss, Ace, right? If you don't know the meme, then, I can't help you. But that's when they signed a roster, those guys, because they didn't get the roster they intended. But honestly, that team, I know that they get clowns because they got top 24 champs, but they were generally better than people remember because they were still the best hardpoint team in the game. And I remember looking at that team and thinking, this team is weird. Scump, Crim, Octane, and Methods, are you taking the piss? But who is going negative on that team? Like, you're always going to have, especially at the time, everyone's going to slate almost always. And that was the case. And they won. Their hardpoint record was one of the best in the entire league. Sure, the S&D was bad. Like, don't get me wrong. S&D was not good. Capture the flag was not good. I mean, who's running the flags on that roster? Like, nobody really. But the stats from the team are immense. Like, there's going to be no one negative there, really. Crim had a 1, Scump had whatever. And it worked. So, and I look at this team and I'm like, if they're all on form, who is going Shots 0.95 in respawn maybe. But the amount of slaying is just absurd. And we saw that against Ravens. It was absolutely ridiculous. But still, I think, I want to take my time a little bit. I think that even 4 series, there isn't too much you can say.
Yeah.
I see you're trying to. What are you trying to say? I see you trying to crack up there.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I think you're saying it a little bit. You're there, but you're missing the last key piece.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that them slaying in general. It's that somebody can always carry the load. I want to be specific about it. At any time, Kenny, Pred, Shotzi, Dash E can take over a map. That takeover ability is what you need in COD. You need someone that, okay, if my superstar is slacking, who's coming up and taking it over? On OpTic, you have 4 guys who all have that capability. So it's insane, right? We've had series where Dashi's has been consistently very good, but we've had series where he's the standout player. We've had a series where AG's the standout player. We have a series where Kenny's the standout player. I'm not so sure we've had a series where Shotzi has overall for the entire series been the standout, but we've had moments where Shotzi highlights and gets a crazy 3-piece and really takes over a map for sure. So that's what makes OpTic so scary to me. And going back to the chat, I want to read over what he said, I said, so I can address it directly. He said, to answer your question, when you said OpTic wouldn't work because who would get in the hill, play objective, and would their chemistry be good enough? And also you said they wouldn't be disciplined enough. Plus, you also made another point that they start off hot, then fizzle out. But we won't know until the end of the year. So to address that formally, I was concerned about the hill and OBJ in the sense of not would someone get in hill to play hardpoint properly? Like, come on, like let's lock in here a little bit and think a little bit bigger. It's more just who would end up taking that role and would they be comfortable? Because it's different when you're running and roaming around the map, shooting people in the back or whatever you're doing and playing tactically versus sitting in the hill, being a hill kitty. It's a different play style actually. So there's a subtlety to it that's very clear. And then chemistry, again, that was early in the season before we really got to see them work. Now we see them on podcasts, we see them in videos. Clearly their chemistry is great and they vibe with each other. That's all figured out, right? These are just hypotheticals and questions. This OpTic team overall is one of the scariest ones. They're the ones that can dethrone FaZe. They're the ones that can slam Ultra. They're the ones that can come in and dethrone Heretics. OpTic really has that firepower to take over any map at any time. But with the high extremes come with the extreme lows. We've seen Shotzi a few times, throw his life away on the map. AG surprisingly struggling a little bit in S&D, right? Taking some risky plays. These maps don't play out the same way that MW2 maps. So maybe it's just AG getting a little more comfortable on these maps. With the highest highs come the lowest lows. So to me, OpTic is still figuring it out, but as soon as they continue to get comfortable, start watching the VODs, start putting together the pieces, and the games overall for every team starts developing, where it starts to not become who figured out the game first, but truly who is the better team, that's when OpTic, maybe after Major 1, is going to be the most dangerous team on the map, because at any point, someone's taking over.
Damn, there's so much OpTic glaze on this show right now. What's got into you, Ace? I'm meant to be the one doing the OpTic glazing, Do you know how the show's meant to work? Okay, that's good stuff. But we've done too much glazing in general. Like, we've got to start slamming some teams. And, this is where we're going to get... This is live, by the way, Clips. Welcome to the stream. This is where we're going to get into the juicy stuff, because some of these teams are going to have to blow it up. I don't know where you want to begin, and I know where you might want to begin to get it out the way, but we're going to have to get there eventually. So, it's on you.
Should we start from the bottom?
We can start from the bottom. I mean, look, there's 4 teams I want to talk about here, because Gorillas, we can talk about Gorillas, but like they've been pretty good. We know that they're going to stick it out because their chemistry's looking good. Boston got that big victory, so I think that's kind of put to bed concerns for them for the meantime, at least. They'll run it for Major 1 and then they'll see. if things are going good or bad. But we see the potential in Boston. We know what's happened in Surge and all these type of stuff. But there are some teams at the bottom that it ain't looking pretty, Ace.
All right, let's just go to the bottom, man. Let's just go to the bottom. We got 3 teams I think that we need to talk about. Let's start first with the Minnesota Rocker.
Welcome back, baby. Go on, take the floor.
I'll take this one over. So, if we take a look at the Minnesota Rocker, no one's really positive. In Hardpoint, no one positive. S&D, no one positive. Control, you do see some highlights. But overall, the team has looked like they're struggling. Like there's a lot of inconsistency. We see them take a lot of teams. They elongate maps. So, I mean, if you take a look at their sets, if you take a look at their map records, a little bit, they are taking off specifically Hardpoint wins across a lot of teams. And again, if you really watch the games, if you guys watch the CDL, a lot of the series are pushed out. But man, they can't close out a series. It just seems like a mistake always happens at the end. Somebody forgets to rotate. Someone loses a key gunfight, and it just looks like they're getting, then it costs them the map. It's a steamroll down. It's really unfortunate. I think guys like, Linz, Awakening, Vivid, Accuracy, all these guys have a long rapport. Linz, obviously a rookie, but good rapport in the Euro scene. I think they have to get it together. Is it terms about blowing it up, per se? I don't know. If you take a look at the maps, if you're getting slammed, choke slammed, just getting 250 to 50'd, maybe it's time. But in my opinion, a lot of these series are getting pushed out. So it's just figuring it out, getting the inconsistencies out of the way, and slowing some of the pace down. That's kind of how I see it. If I was gonna make any change on any team, not only Rocker doing really bad online, I would wait after Boston for sure. Let the online stuff happen. Get to LAN, see what your team is like in person on the main stage, and then from there make any decisions. So I can't say anything great about this team because it hasn't looked too great. The most credit I can give them is they push some series against some decent teams, but they have to get it together, get their heads out their asses overall.
Like, it would be all too easy for me to say what I could easily say. But you know what? I'm actually not going to do it, right? I'm actually not going to do it.
Because I think that... Just do it, man.
No, I think that when you make your bed as Rocket and you sign Accuracy, you got to lie in it. That's how it works. You know what you're getting into, and I think you've got to run it now. The concern I have for this team, and it was the same concern before the season, Seattle Surge 2023, this season, right? They had the roster for a couple of years. They won something, at the start of or Major 3 or whatever it was during the Vanguard season. This most recent year, they were trash. They needed to do better. They did okay at the start of the season. They had Pred and Sib and Accuracy and Mac on that roster. This is basically the same team structure, but with worse players in each particular role. You can talk about Mac all you want, and to be fair, last season, my opinion was not drop Lamar because you had Sib there to drop numbers. My question was, let's try someone out for Mac because it wasn't working with Mac, and I still think Mac's a good player, but, if they'd have put Gwyn in for Mac, I mean, come on, don't tell me that they don't have a better chance of doing something last season. They almost didn't make champs, let's not forget. Surge last year, Vegas were trash. I mean, okay. Vegas were okay, but Vegas were not good. Whenever they played FaZe, oh my god, Vegas got giga chokeslammed every single time. It was embarrassing. Vegas were not good, and I sure they had a couple of 4-in-1 runs online, but they were terrible on LAN last year, Vegas, and it was so sad for me because I wanted them to make champs, but they didn't. And Surge held on by the skin of their teeth to the champs qualification spot. But that Surge team with Pred and Sib on was barely making champs last year. And now you're looking at a Rocket team with Lamar is here. Awakening is meant to be your replacement for Sib. You've got Linz and Vivid are your SMG replacements. And I feel bad for Linz, honestly. I'm looking at Linz play this guy's popping aces in Search and Destroy. He's trying his best. I think he's doing quite well. But the most disappointing player for me has been Awakening because I'm not surprised by what Accuracy's brought here. Now look, at the same time, Lamar, the whole thing is that he's going to get the best out of these guys. That's the whole point, right? That's why you sign him. Is to maximize the potential of the rest of the team. And if that's not happening, that's obviously partially on him, but it's also partially on these players, right? Because I just look at this roster and it's just a mishmash of players. Linz has come over from France. They've tried to put players together they think are going to work. This is what Rocker always tend to do. And when it doesn't work, the question is, what's the solution, right? And if you get rid of Accuracy and get another AR in, you just kill all sorts of intended structure you might even have. So I don't think that's the solution. Awakening's just been very disappointing. And sure, he might have a 0.94, but he has a 0.5 in search. And, you know, people are going to clown him for the sound EQ stuff. And I totally get it, right? People are saying it in the chat, you know, no EQ, no Awakening, all this. And maybe there's some truth to that. I just can't see this roster making champs on this current level. I don't see this roster of all making champs because Surge last year barely made it. And this team is just substantially worse in basically every single way. And accuracy, you know, frankly, is probably going to be marginally worse this year than he was last year. Like every year until he calls it a day, he's probably going to be a little bit less impactful on average.
Yeah.
And it's the same for other players. So you just can't afford that to be the case. So depending on the internal relationships, we don't know what's going on. I would probably keep Lamar and Linz, and I would really consider about what I'd do with Awakening and Vivid, which is very interesting given that on paper, those are like the two better players. But I think that there's potential upgrades from challenges. Like you should be looking at Don, depending on the relationship. You should be looking at Gunless potentially. And there's loads of other players you mentioned as well before, like the top part of challenges that are worth considering because surely Accuracy knows that last year, if they'd have just put Gwyn in, they might have been better. And I can't imagine them sticking out. That's my take.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Hello.
It was so quiet, so quick. I was like, I don't wait. Did he cut out? What happened?
Welcome back. No. I'm done.
There
My
you
rant's
go.
over.
I agree with you. I think there's. I mean, I will highlight again. The numbers. I hate being this guy, but I have to be the guy. The S&D numbers. Actually, 6'3" Bloods, best Bloods. Linz as well. Again, I want to talk about Linz. It's tough. Again, even if you remember the Hydra, you know, the Hydra when he first came to the league, there was a language barrier a little bit. So you have to remember, you're kind of having a 3.5-man team because one of the guys may not fully comprehend a call out instantly. He may be processing mid-game. So you got to let him get a little bit more comfortable for him to, even though he's playing well, even though in respawns he's really, you know, he's playing pretty well actually. And that's without him knowing English completely and like being fully formatted in the system. So, you know, again, to me, it's one of these teams where it may take longer to mesh, but to be fair, like you said, how much time do you have before it's too late? So I think that's the biggest worry with me with them.
0 points, bro.
Huh?
I mean, let's just have a look at their upcoming matches real quick. If you want to just bring them up.
For sure. Let's do that. That's actually a great idea.
I mean, it's not the end of the world, but like, you know, there are 0 points.
I mean, to begin, it's not looking hot, but what do they have coming up? Okay, Friday, first matchup, Rocker Subliners. Lamar versus his disciple Sib. That's an interesting matchup. I think they'll match up fairly well. I think Linz versus Hydra is a good storyline personally. So, you know, that's a good matchup. Who knows? Subliners have seen some struggle as well in some of these matchups. Kind of weird ups and downs, really high extreme highs, kind of weird extreme lows. You know, Sib, you know, playing fairly well, then playing fairly bad. It's kind of up in the air. And then who else do they have? Let's see, from the weekend.
But they have such an easy split here compared to what they could have.
For sure.
Like,
Rocker Ravens, okay, you know, you could take a win there.
That's a blow it up ball if I've ever seen one.
Yeah.
That is a shocker.
Rocker Gorilla. I mean, yeah, these next three, let's see, 4. Rocker Surge, that's probably I'm going to assume their hardest matchup right there.
That's what they got, you know,
yeah,
for the rest of the qualified games.
That's pretty simple. If you're going to get some wins, it should be here. If you don't get wins here, then you'll have me turning full heel, and I'm roasting my cousin. I'm roasting the whole team. I'm roasting everybody. You don't get a win in these next 3 matches, then we have a problem for sure, and I'm coming at it hot. I'm be honest. So that's what I got for you, my man. That's what I got for you. Let's hop over to the next couple teams and really deep dive in where the chat doesn't think I'm super cheesing on them too. Let's go to the Ravens. Rab, what you got for the Ravens?
Oh my God, bro. Like, I feel bad because I looked at this team and I thought, because I think I chose Gwyn as my rookie of the year, but my feeling was that Surge would be a better team. So I don't know if really that's going to work as a boozer, and then obviously Snoopy as well, who I really should have chosen, let's be honest, because I mean, should have been more of a no-brainer, but oh my God. The problem I have with this team, and I'm equally annoyed because I had Godorex in my bloody fantasy team, and he's absolutely giga costing me right now. I was faithful that Godorex might do a job for these boys, but it ain't looking good. I mean, the numbers are not pretty. Search and Destroy is an absolute travesty. And GodRx has basically a 0.7 in all modes. Apart from the respawn, like their hardpoint's been okay. But again, it's not like they played great teams. I mean, I look at their completed matches. They got 3'd by Heretics. They beat, Vegas. And sure, they played Toronto and OpTic the last couple of series where they got absolutely choke slammed by both teams respectively. The problem I have with this roster, and again, I see similarities here. We talked about it before with Rocker, the way their team is structured. Clay and Accuracy, you can take comparisons, and then Real and Lins, you can take comparisons, like European rookie SMG player. You've got GodRx, who was meant to do a good job on the slaying side of the AR, and it's not existing at all. Like, he's struggling with the transition back to the Pro League. And then you've got like a bright spot in Gwyn, who's tried his best. The problem I have here is that I actually have more faith in Accuracy to maintain the internal team dynamics so that they won't completely lose full than I have for the Clay situation. Because Clay I've always thought he's an amplifier. Like, if your team is cooking, you guys probably remember the famous clip when it was on Piccadilly Search and Destroy. I think it was during the World Championship. They're playing FaZe or whatever. And Hook gets like a 3-piece. And, Clay says some cheesy shit like, big time players make big time plays in big time games. Something like that, right? And that was a hyped up moment because that was like him comms wise, team wise, when the team's going well, Clay takes it to the next level. He's exactly the guy you want to have when you're about to win a map 1 hardpoint in a grand finals. Like, he's the perfect guy for that. But when you're getting slammed, Clay can be on the complete other side of the spectrum. And we've heard it in listenings last year with Vegas when they're losing and the vibes are just shocked. And the problem I have is that this team, if they're getting slammed in matches as bad as that, they're literally getting records broken against them. And then you've got to go back to scrims. And then you're probably still getting slammed by some of those teams. I just don't see how the chemistry in that situation recovers. Especially when, Clay has said before during the subliners days in Cold War that he doesn't really want to be the guy doing the sole leadership stuff. Like, he doesn't want to have to develop Gwyn and Real on his own as kind of like the veteran leader to help these guys understand. Like, he wants to be able to focus on his own game. And maybe GodRx can't do enough of a job, even as kind of a bit of a veteran himself, to figure that out. So, I'm in a similar boat where, in the same way that I would keep Accuracy and Lins on Rocker, I would think about keeping Clay and Gwyn on this team and just see what I do with the rest. Because, as I say, Clay can be an amplifier when it's going well. And you might think, Clay, it's time to retire. Like, just do a scump what he did last year and call it a day now. I don't think I think Clay's can be pretty good at this game. And I think there's some upside to keeping him. I just don't see if you get rid of Clay, like, where you get any of the, issues from here.
Yeah.
Eclipsing is an absolute Lamar hater. 10 comments against Lamar.
I've seen it.
I do respect it. I respect the hating.
Yeah.
But
Again,
that's not my personal opinion.
Say what you got to say in the chat, guys. Go off. Say what you got to say. We're not, as much, I may have the direct relation, but you have your opinion, and please state it. Overall, okay, here's what I think about the Ravens, man. Get Gwyn some goddamn help. Jesus Christ. That guy is piecing people, man. He's 1v everybody, bro. Come on. This kid is proving himself every day by day, match by match. He is doing great work out here. He needs some help. Personally, I'm going to take the hot take here and say I think Real, if he doesn't prove himself quickly, needs to come out. There's so many good players in challengers that are better than Real at least at this state of how he's playing. And again, last year we saw Real come into the league for a second. It wasn't anything special to me. I didn't personally like the way he played the game even then in MW2. I think MW3 is harder. The how to play the game is a little bit tougher. Takes a bit more due to the map design and how it's kind of it's not as methodical. It takes a lot more know-how to not mess up a rotation. Real, I don't know. I just don't like the way he plays the game personally. I think Real needs to be swapped out. GodRx needs to prove himself quickly and turn it around quickly, or else I agree, man. He needs to be swapped out. But to me, the real problem piece is Gwyn not having a duo for himself to really go around the map and really take over. I want to also highlight that the map record of Ravens is actually worse than the map record of Minnesota Rocker and of Thieves. So, although they have a match record, they have a match win. their map record is actually worse. So Ravens to me is truly, it may, you know, people are going to say cheese. Of course, Eclipse is going to be on my head right now and say cheese, but I think Ravens is the worst team in the game as of right now. I do think they will be the first team to make a change. Quote me on that now. Hot take, whatever you want to say. I think they're the first team to make a change overall. And yeah, they haven't shown me anything special. I think Clay needs to keep playing. I think Clay is great. He's a great amplifier, as you said. If you take a look at the stats themselves, damage overall, Clay is actually the standout for the damage. Quite, 300 over Gwyn. So Clay's not ready to retire just yet. It's got Rex and reality to really get it together quickly, or this team needs to get them out and really get some firepower behind Clay and Gwyn.
Yeah, this is the thing, right? They're playing like the worst team in the game the way they played the last couple of matches. I still think Real can be a good player, but the problem is it's going to take too long, like getting Real up to speed, if that's even going to work eventually, especially, are they even in a facility together? I don't know if they are. I still think they're kind of playing from... Yeah.
No, as of right now, they're not.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're not, right? Which is the same shit as Vegas last year, which just puts them on the back foot immediately. I guess the question is, from like a replacement POV, because people talk about a seam, right? There's a couple of good challenger teams right now. You know how I would just gas up Nasty, and I think him returning to Ravens would just make so much sense. The problem is, do Ravens have any money? Do they even want to, pay for the visa situation? Like, I'd put Nasty on this team in literally a heartbeat. It would take me 0 time to make that decision. But in the flex role, or in the, where GodRx currently is, but I don't know if that would necessarily happen. And then you're looking at alternatives. There's some options out there. I don't think Clay and Temp necessarily want a team together, because then the team is very much like Vegas, and I'm not really sure that's a good idea. You could put Temp and TJ back here with Gwyn, and then you could basically have Vegas Mark II, but a bit better. And maybe you get top 8 with that team. But I don't know. Asim and Clay as well had a bit of I don't know if there's massive beef, but a bit of conflict, I think, during the Subliners days they were together.
Yeah.
So, I'm not exactly sure which players you get in the replacement. I know which players I would like to get, but
yeah, I'd personally say I would say Donnie is definitely my top pick to get. This kind of game suits Donnie, and Donnie has been a consistent player every year. I'm a Donnie lover. I think he's a great player at every game. Sure, he's had his teammate issues in the past, but he's a grown up now. He's not young. He's not a straight up like 18-year-old kid anymore. He's a grown up, matured. Has a girl. He's living life properly. He's in a good headspace. I think you get Donnie on this team for GodRx if GodRx isn't playing well into the future, because like you brought up, it was a great point. They're all in different places, so I'm sure online COD is their worst element. On LAN is going to be the real proof for this team. So really, that's almost there's no team that needs to blow it up just yet, of course, because of LAN. We need to get there first, Boston, and really see what the dynamic is on face to face when they're really challenged. But yeah, Donnie needs to be on this team 100%. I think his rapport with Clay, whether Clay wants to play with him again or not, that's a different story. But his rapport on this team could be great. And I think you take a risk on your other sub or flex player in the Real situation. That's up to the chat who they think is going to be. But they may say ASUM. They may say there's a lot of choices there. But yeah, I think Donnie, you need someone for Clay to bounce off of, and then another. You can take a risk on your sub from there, and this team will get.
Looks into Martin, baby.
Yeah, you take a risk on Doug. Who knows? 7 kills per map is gonna get you dubs. That's how it works out here.
3 minutes in hill per map. I would just say quickly on GodRx, I do want to give him the benefit of the doubt a little bit. I know I've just had to drop him, but that is for Nasty. I think is great. I will say that back in MW19, he was a fry man on LAN, and he got smoked online. Like when Co was like the worst thing that ever happened to GodRx's career, because he was genuinely one of the best players in the world when he was on Rocker at the time on LAN at the start of the game. And then when it went online, he was starting getting cooked. So I kind of want to say, I want to see if GodRx can turn it around on LAN. But the problem with that is that you need to be good online. This Ravens team right now is going to start and losers. Like, I don't think you can afford GodRx to get smoked online, even if he's going to give you a 1.1 on LAN, because by the time you get to LAN, you're starting in losers, and you've got like 10 CDL points out of 70, which is not going to make champs. So, this is the thing. Sure, it's good to be good on LAN, but you can't get smoked online. This is how it goes.
Mac is a good shout, too. I'm not going to lie. Mac is a good shout. Nasty's a good shout. These guys are all good shouts. I'm not going to lie. These are some good shouts. But let's hop over to the last team that I had a hot take over, but then they took their dub. You know, they took their dub, so I quieted me down a little bit. But we have the LA Thieves with Afro Cami, Ghosty, and Joe Deceives. I'm gonna start off with this one. They surprised me a little bit. This team, out of all the bottom 3 teams, I think personally has the highest ceiling. And, you know, everyone's going to say, cheese. Again, I'm not rocker cheesing right now. Don't worry. I'm actually anti-rocker cheesing by saying this team definitely has the highest ceiling, in my opinion. You have players like Afro, who we know have been top prospects in the league before. Cammy, who's been a top prospect in the league before and really, you know, took over maps, took over games, actually. You have Ghosty, who on OpTic was a fan favorite and definitely the leader of the team. The vocal leader of the team, really, you know, we've seen his capability on the maps. And Joe Deceives, to me, is the biggest question mark, but surprisingly has been playing pretty well. He's been pretty consistent in terms of being their slayer. I don't know much about Joe Deceives, to be honest, but on the map, yeah, he plays well. You know, to me, it's a team where I think they're going to get better and better. Surprisingly, I think they'll be able to get themselves into that mid-pack relatively soon. It's just going to take some comfortability, and also they're playing from the West Coast, so online COD is not going to be their best bet. Similar to the Ravens, I think the Ravens are in a worse spot because their online COD is from different places in the U.S. completely. You know, you have someone in North Carolina, Texas. I think GodRx is on the. I think he's on. One of them may be on the West.
Sure.
Yeah, I think he may be on the West Coast. One of them's on the West Coast too. So you have, you know, that's a region. That's a setup for failure. In this case, LA Thieves is playing from LA and playing a bunch of teams that are located in Texas, in Toronto, in Boston. You know what I'm saying? It's not the best recipe for a great online experience. But overall, this team is going to be one to look out for. And I think we finally saw it with them getting some momentum in their win against the Gorillas.
No. Let's okay.
Did I mess up something?
I'll clown you in a second. Yeah, they didn't beat the Gorillas, brother. They got giga slammed by the Gorillas.
Oh,
they beat Boston.
Oh, they beat Boston. Oh, I had this all bad. Okay.
Yeah.
Chat.
No,
roast
I mean,
me.
you're
roast,
good.
Roast,
this
roast,
is
roast,
fantastic because I can clown you now.
Yeah, go ahead.
All
Go
good.
ahead. You can hit the roast, man. It's 8 it's 8 a.m., man. What are we supposed to say about that?
Look,
go ahead.
Yeah. I get it, right? Excuses, right? At the end of the day, Ace is right in part. They got a win. You know, congratulations, Thieves. They got a victory. And then Shane comes out after the fact and he says, "Oh, well, that's what happens when we don't complain the entire week in scrims." Guess what happens the very next series? They get ultra slammed by a team that on paper was told, you know, LA Gorillas were told by the power rankings that the coaches did, they were the worst team in the league. And we're not even talking about them here in terms of blowing it up because they've proven to be solid. You know, they've played well so far. And sure, LA Thieves, regardless of what the iteration is, always get slammed by Gorillas. I don't know why, but it's just how it goes. They've beat them. It's 6-1 now in CDL history,
it's the curse,
which is a complete embarrassment. And it started in Cold War. Even back then in Cold War, they were just getting slammed. Just inexplicably, they were getting slammed by Thieves. Or by Gorillas. It's the same old story again. But man, that loss especially was bad. And this is why I think their trajectory is the opposite to what you said, Ace, to be honest. Like, you think they might go up a little bit. I think they're on the way down. I think we've seen the best of them already. What they showed against Boston was the best we're going to see from this team because this is the thing. Accuracy, I actually have some faith in him maintaining the internal chemistry. Clay, I have slightly less faith. This team, I have literally zero faith. Like, if things are bad in scrims behind the scenes, if they're complaining, I see basically nobody that's going to turn it around, unless Jacob and Shane can do a masterclass. But they don't have an Octane anymore. They don't have a Kenny anymore. They don't have players that actually have their heads screwed on and have, you know, some maturity. This is not a mature team. A lot of these guys have not been around very long. Cammy, that has, is not playing very well. And the other two teams, I would say, need a two-man change. I would probably just have a one-man change here. Sad as it is for me to say, with how good Cammy was in Cold War, but especially even how good he was back in MW19. People forget that he was really good at that game as well. But he hasn't been the same for the last couple of years. And we know that Ghosty can be a bit of an abrasive character. He can be difficult to work with. That's been clear from what Dashi's had to say, and even from rumors we've heard coming out of Thieves, that in practice, it might not be going so well. I don't know if you need someone like another personality in there to kind of mellow Ghosty out or something. Like, I think that a player like Kenny or like an Octane would be a perfect counterpart to Ghosty because they've got that veteran leadership thing that they can help him with.
Superstars of superstars. What are you talking?
If
Octane or Kenny come to LA Thieves, they'd be good. Come on, Rab. That's some cheese,
I've seen
brother.
it there before. Yeah. Okay. So all right. There you go. So they're trash. And what are we going to do about it, right? Because Ghosty's causing. I think Ghosty's great, and I think that he's got a bright future ahead of him, and I really hope that he does because he has a great story. But I do think that he does cause problems. I like Afro and Joe Deceives. I think they've done well. Joe Deceives especially has been good. Afro, you know what you're going to get from Afro. Sometimes he's going to be really streaky, and sometimes he's going to drop a stinker. But I still think he's one of the most talented SMGs in the league, and I still think it was a good decision. Like I like their SMG combo. But my concern is that getting 3-0 slammed by Gorillas in the manner that they did, that's going to be a tough one mentally to bounce back from, especially just, I mean, they got clowned on really that series. It wasn't even particularly competitive. Game 1 was actually an embarrassment, to be honest, because they were down 40 on sub base, and I swear they weren't even trying to win. I swear they'd given up, and they were just running around playing for kills. Like, I can't figure out a better explanation for that. And then the high rose control, they got 3-0 slammed. So, yeah, I mean, if you're getting beaten by those teams, this is a team that I thought the start of the season is their chance, and if it doesn't work, I don't know what's going on behind the scenes between Cammy and Ghosty, but I just can't imagine that it's pretty there, knowing how Ghosty is.
Okay, there's a solid point. I feel like personality-wise in this team, you don't have a clear-cut leader. Ghosty might be that guy, but then we've heard of him being a little bit, a loose fool, as Dashy put it. Yeah, I think you have a lot of young guys here who are a little, more role players in their play style, not really formal leaders or ones to really take over a camp. My faith, and the reason why I think they have some momentum is, yeah, they did beat Boston. My bad, guys. I know I messed up teams here. They beat Boston, a formidable team, which probably gives them some good grace in their heart that they could be good if they put it together. Plus, I said it before, I'll say it again. Their coaching staff is one of the best in the league. Do not negate from how good of a coach that is. That's a world champ. You got J-Cap, you got Shane, who's obviously put it together and had championship teams himself. Come on, you don't take away from them. Although they don't have a particular great leader on their team, behind them is some great minds. Behind them are some people that really want them to win, and a great organization like LA Thieves, 100 Thieves. I think they have a recipe for success. If Cammy doesn't get it together fairly quick, a player that I see could be a good fit for this team, surprisingly, would be Donnie, actually. Does LA Thieves want Don? I mean, that's a different story. But could Don come in here and really make a difference, I think, and really lead this team to somewhere, get to the 5th, 6th place, something like that, maybe 7th place, somewhere, at least make champs? I think so. Would he be an upgrade to Cammy if Cammy's still playing this way, if we can't get back the Cold War Cammy that we've all been waiting for and hyping up for years and years? If he can't do it, then I mean, personally, yeah, I mean, it's a little bit of a rogue take, but I think Donnie would be a good one to put in here, and he could really make an impact on this kind of roster and get the best out of players like Afro and Joe Deceives and Ghosty.
Yeah, I think Purgy makes a good point as well about the comms, right? Like, I'm not expecting Afro or Joe Deceives to do much in the comms department, and you want to have Ghosty doing all the work on his back. Like, maybe you can get away with it, but I think I agree, and it's a bit of a weird one because if I'm going to put an AR in here for Cammy, it needs to be someone with some experience. As I said, like, if Octane wants to come out of retirement and do it, great. But then I guess there'd be a battle for who's going to be the biggest hill kit in between the two. But
Right.
If you are going to get some from challenges, you can't just get a cracked out kid, like, because then good luck, like, it's going to be a shambles. You need someone, and maybe Don to Thieves, they don't want to do it, but at least Donnie, if you listen to his comms when they play, we're talking about Temp, by the way, if you guys aren't aware, Don, Dada, Donnie, Temp. If you listen to it when they play scrims and stuff, often it's Temp the one trying to calm things down, maybe TJ's losing full, maybe ProLute's losing full, and often Temp's the one to say, all right, like, let's chill, let's talk about this, and sure, he can lose his head at times as well, but I think that there's a possibility there that Temp has the mindset that can help this team. And he has some veteran experience and some leadership and some comms. It's just difficult to find players and challengers that can fix this team. I think this is the issue. Unless you get Doug, as James says.
Boy, why are you talking crazy? I think this is the easiest team to fix.
You just got Donnie, easy.
Yeah, well, that's one thing, Donnie, for sure. But the other half of this is that I think this seems the easiest one to fix because the pieces are there, the individuals are there, the talent is there. They just need that one spark to really get them together and lead them to success, right? If some people may say this is cheese, but having a player like Clay or Accuracy with these three around them could be a really dominant team. I think LA Thieves really put together this roster well in their original mindset when they, on paper. It just takes someone to come through and lead them to the glory land, lead them ahead. And again, I want to highlight one thing about Cam. It may sound like I'm being a hater on him. He has the high. If we take a look at the stats here, he has the highest damage per 10 minutes. You know, he's actually putting it down on the map. He actually is shooting at people, right? It's just not, something is lacking on the team in terms of leadership. Maybe comms, like some of the people in the chat are saying. I actually like the core. I mean, maybe you and I have, this is maybe our hot take. Here's where we have a little bit of a difference of how we're looking at things. But I think this LA Thieves team is actually pretty decent on paper. It's just going to take a little bit more time in the season. And online COD may just not be their best highlight spot. This is the team most above all that I need to see on land to prove themselves. More than Rocker, more than maybe Ravens is right up there too. Maybe 1 and 2 with Ravens and them. But due to them being in LA, I need to see them on land and see really what they do at Boston to really determine if Cammy's back or not back, or Ghosty's good or not good. It's too early to tell on a lot of these teams if it's time to fully, absolutely self-destruct.
Blow it up, baby.
Blow it up,
Press the
self-destruct,
button.
do what we got to do. So,
yeah, I think like this team should be good enough to be able to put together a couple of wins online to the point where like even old LA Thieves, where they're world champions, they were never that good playing out of the compound online on the internet. It's just how it was. But you could accept that Thieves would probably win most of their online games, or they'd go 3-2 or something, and then they'd turn up to LAN and at least, you know, get the job done. So, you know, I think I can see them a similar future, but the concern is that I don't know if they have the bounce back ability from a mental standpoint if things aren't going so well. And I just don't think that Ghosty should be the leader. You know, I think that causes problems. It causes problems on OpTic. As you say, in an ideal world, you'd have Ghosty doing the slaying. You know, he'd be on the roll where he drops a 1.3 like he did in challenges, when Doug is, you know, doing everything dirty work required on the map. But that's not been the case recently, which means that they have to think about how the AR setup works. Lots of questions to answer, but I think they do have the staff over there to make good decisions. Like, I'm not sure I have as much faith in the staffing of the other two organizations to make the right calls on this. At the end of the day, we don't know what's going on internally behind the scenes. Are they losing full in practice still? We don't really know. Jacob and Shane, I have more faith on them than anybody. And you know, as Eclipsey says, you know, Octane is still there. Like, maybe bring Octane back, or like at least maybe Octane could be a consultant, right? It's the same thing with the fact that they had Karma around just sitting there was a waste of talent, and now Karma's the coach. Like, is Octane just going to sit there forever? He could, you know, he could listen to the comms. He could do a bit of consultancy, you know, chuck him a bit of change just to sit in on the occasional scrim and tell the coaches what he thinks. He doesn't have to coach, but like when you've got a guy as talented as Octane and he's just sitting at home making content on your organization, like, you know, come on. As far as I'm concerned, you should be trying to get him involved in improving this team because they need something.
They need some mentorship for sure. I fully agree. Yeah, all the bottom 3 teams, top teams, we got to see them in Boston, see how they perform, because we might get surprised. Who knows? Maybe Toronto loses first round and we see LA Thieves making a run. You know, LAN is always a different beast every year. We've seen some surprising, magical things happen. I'm fully excited, and I don't know if did we say that we're gonna?
No, let's do it now. Let's do it to close out the.
Let's talk about Boston really quick. So guys, we're gonna be at Boston. Just letting you guys know, me and Rab will be doing whether it's dope check or watching the matches, watch partying. We'll be at Boston with our couches, with a setup, looking great, looking lovely. You'll be able to see us and meet us in person. Both 6'4", he's 6'5", and handsome. Come through, say hi. If you're going to the Boston event, make sure to come through and say hi. I want to open on the stream this. If you haven't got your tickets yet, please be sure to head over to Ticketmaster, Call of Duty League. I will spam this in the chat quickly.
There's a link in the description. Top link in the description will take you straight through. So if you click that one, I'll just chuck it in the chat now as well. Just to, if you guys are local, you want to attend an event. I went to the Boston event last year. It was absolutely fantastic. Okay, it was hella cold. Like, it was insane how cold it was. And hopefully this year it's not going to be the same story again. But I met loads of people there that had either flown in locally, or a lot of people come over from Europe as well, just because it's a close one. It's relatively easy to get to for all the East Coast events. It's like the shortest flight you're going to get over from Europe. The events are so much fun. The setup we're going to have is going to be sensational. Like, if any of you guys went last year, the Mass Mutual Lounge is where we're going to have the setup, we believe, for this year, which is you go up the second story and then there's like a bar area there, and it's where the flank was last year. So we're going to be inside that room. It's going to be super vibey in there. Going to have all sorts of games and like stuff that people can come and interact with, get some pros on. It's going to be a great time. So we're going to try and do this for as many as we can this year. But Boston have hooked us up big time with allowing us the space and getting us things sorted behind the scenes. Lots of work goes into getting these things all set up. So, shout out all the guys over at Boston for helping make it possible. They helped us a lot last year as well with the setup and everything. And this year we're going one bigger. So yeah, massively looking forward to it.
The Dope Check World Tour, baby. We're on the move. We're on the move. Let's go. So we'll see you guys at Boston. Again, please make sure to head over to that link right there, put in the chat. Bit.ly, the breaking point right there, put it up. Bit.ly/breaking major 2. Tickets are still available for the VIP, for general admission, for the lodge. So if you guys, if you're from Canada, Europe, US, Boston's not too far of a flight away. It's enough time. You have enough time to plan for this trip, get a hotel. It's going to be a great event. All this CDL action, all the highlights, all these questions we're asking going to be answered. Plus, again, a chance to meet us live at the event. Be sure to, if you're there, to come say hi. Shout out the guys at Boston Breach for making it happen. That's January 25th through January 28th. Boston Breach Major 1. I'm excited, Rab. I'm 10 out of 10 excited for this event. I'm 10 out of 10 excited to see you, man. Done.
It's going to be good, bro. Yeah, it's going to be good. In person, like, when you do a stupid take, you're catching a right hook, how it's
and then you're
go.
catching your left hook right back, brother, with love on that hook right there. But
that's
guys,
the game, baby.
That is Dope Check for today. I hope you guys have a great New Year's. I hope you had a great holiday and a great Christmas and everything else. We look forward to seeing you guys back in about a week and a half when Call of Duty action is back. We will be at this earlier time slot, so be sure to set your alarms. Get up if you're in Europe. You're probably so happy you don't have to stay up late. So we're in a good spot. We'll see you guys soon, and see you guys at Boston as well. Get your tickets. Boom, boom, boom. Gonna end stream right now.
Boom, baby. Let's